This is TechCrunch.
Uber has more than 20 autonomous vehicle partners, and they all want one thing: data. So the company says it's going to make that available through a new division called Uber AV Labs. Despite the name, Uber is not returning to developing its own robotaxis, which it stopped doing after one of its test vehicles killed a pedestrian in 2018. But it will send its own cars out into cities adorned with sensors to collect data for partners like Waymo, Waabi, Lucid Motors, and others, though no contracts are signed just yet. Broadly speaking, self-driving cars are in the middle of a shift away from rules-based operation and toward relying more on reinforcement learning. As that happens, real-world driving data has become hugely valuable for training these systems. Uber told TechCrunch the autonomous vehicle companies that want this data the most are the ones that have already been collecting a lot of it themselves. It's a sign that, like many of the Frontier Eye labs, they've come to realize that solving the most extreme edge cases is a volume game. Right now, the size of an autonomous vehicle company's fleet creates a physical limit to how much data it can collect. And while many of these companies create simulations of real-world environments to hedge against edge cases, nothing beats driving on actual roads when it comes to discovering all the strange, difficult, and flat-out unexpected scenarios that cars wind up in. Waymo provides an example of this gap. The company has had autonomous vehicles in operation or in testing for a decade, and yet its current robotaxis have recently been caught illegally passing stopped school buses. Having access to a larger pool of driving data could help robotaxi companies solve some of those problems before or as they creep up. Uber's chief technology officer, Praveen Nepali Naga, told TechCrunch in an exclusive interview. And Uber won't be charging for it. At least not yet. Uber's VP of Engineering, Danny Guo, said the lab has to build the basic data foundation first before it figures out the product market fit. The new AV Labs division is starting out small. So far, it just has one car, and the Uber team is still screwing on sensors like LiDARs, radars, and cameras. Partners won't receive raw data. Once the Uber AV Labs fleet is up and running, Naga said the division will have to massage and work on the data to help fit to the partners. This semantic understanding layer is what the driving software at companies like Waymo will be pulling from to improve a robotaxi's real-time path planning. Even then, Guo said there will likely be an interstitial step taken, where Uber will essentially plug a partner's driving software into the AV Labs cars to be run in shadow mode. Anytime the Uber AV Labs driver does something different from what the autonomous vehicle software does in shadow mode, Uber will flag that to the partner company. This will not only help discover shortcomings in the driving software, but Guo said this will also help train the models to drive more like a human and less like a robot. If this approach sounds familiar, it is because it's essentially what Tesla has been doing to train its own autonomous vehicle software over the last decade. Uber's approach lacks the same scale, though, as Tesla has millions of customer cars driving on roads around the world every day. That doesn't bother Uber. Guo said he expects to do more targeted data collection based on the needs of the autonomous vehicle companies. The company expects to grow this new division to a few hundred people within a year, and that Uber wants to move quickly. And while he sees a future in which Uber's whole fleet of ride-hail vehicles could be leveraged to collect even more training data, he knows the new division has to start somewhere. Luminar received an even higher bid for its LiDAR business as a court-run auction concluded on Monday, according to a new filing in the company's bankruptcy case. MicroVision, a Redmond, Washington-based company that has been developing its own LiDAR sensors, submitted a $33 million bid, eclipsing the $22 million that quantum computing laid out a few weeks ago as the so-called stalking horse bidder. Quantum Computing Inc. had upped its bid to $28 million, but apparently was unwilling or unable to go higher. In a statement, MicroVision said Tuesday that it is acquiring IP and inventory related to the Iris and Halo LiDAR sensors, key engineering and operations talent, and certain commercial contracts and orders. The sale of Luminar's LiDAR business will now be subject to approval by the judge in the bankruptcy case. A hearing is slated for Tuesday afternoon. It's not clear if Luminar founder and former CEO Austin Russell submitted a bid for his company's LiDAR assets. Russell, through his new venture, Russell AI Labs, tried to buy the company outright in October before it filed for bankruptcy, and he expressed an interest in making a bid during the bankruptcy process. Russell and Luminar spent the first month of the bankruptcy case fighting over a subpoena. The company has said it is still evaluating whether to take legal action against Russell, tied to his resignation last May, which followed a board-run ethics inquiry. While Russell already turned over his computers to Luminar, he had been holding onto his phone until he received a guarantee from the company that any personal information on the device would be protected. Luminar accused him of dodging the subpoena. Russell ultimately agreed to accept the subpoena last week. Over the weekend, he and Luminar made a joint filing in court laying out the terms of a protective order regarding his personal information. If the sale of the LiDAR assets goes through, it could bring about a fairly swift end to Luminar's bankruptcy case, which was filed in December. The company has already reached an agreement to sell its other business division, centered around semiconductors, to quantum computing for $110 million. For more stories like these, go to TechCrunch.com.